Look at the timing. That is the first thing you have to look at. You sit here with this avalanche of ink, this relentless, blinding stream of endorsements, nominations, and declarations, and you want to believe that noise is power. You want to believe that if you type loud enough, if you stack the adjectives high enough, rock solid, tremendous, a fantastic, incredible, magnificent, desperately needed, that you are actually moving the needle of reality. But look at the tape. Look at what happens when the typing stops and the market opens. We start with the optics because that is where the energy goes. He posts an image, a split screen designed to trigger a visceral response. On the left, prison with Joe Biden, a man behind bars. On the right, freedom with President Trump, a group on a plane holding flags. It's a visual equation he wants you to solve. Him equals liberty, them equals cage. He follows it up with another image, just the word Democrats in large black text above two figures against graffiti. It's crude. It's direct. It's meant to bypass your reasoning and hit your reflexes. He is painting a picture of a binary world, and he wants you to pick a side before you even finish reading the headline. But then we go to the substance, or what passes for it today. He announces the nomination of Lee Rudofsky to the 8th Circuit. A distinguished judge, he says, a defender of the Constitution, standard fare. But then the volume ramps up. He spends paragraphs on daylight saving time. He calls it foolish, inconvenient, and costly. He claims that cities with watchtowers cost millions of dollars to adjust their clocks. He cites leading medical, crime, and economic studies he hasn't named, studies that exist only in the realm of his assertion, to claim that permanent daylight will decrease robbery and murder rates, reduce car accidents involving pedestrians, lower cardiac risks, and boost tourism and retail. He frames this as a bipartisan issue, something Republicans, Democrats, and independents can unite on. It sounds reasonable. It sounds like common sense. But look at the language. The House of Representatives has passed the bill. Is that true? Or is it just another declaration of victory in a war that hasn't been fought yet? He is asking Republican senators to pass the Sunshine Protection Act with urgent, breathless punctuation. Exclamation points everywhere. A sense of crisis where there should only be boredom. Then we pivot to Oklahoma. He endorses Mike Mazzei for governor, dismissing his opponent Gentner Drummond as a fake Republican who donated to the Lincoln Project. And here he introduces a specific project, an aluminum plant in Enola, Oklahoma. He calls it magnificent, job-producing, and desperately needed. He claims it will be on the most successful job-creating plants ever built. He says the group financing it is extraordinarily wealthy and has 20 other sites ready to take them if Oklahoma says no. He says it helps national security because you can't get aluminum in the United States. That is a staggering claim, a complete, unqualified assertion that domestic supply is non-existent. And then he drags in the impeachment, calling it a bogus impeachment of a young and very handsome gentleman himself. He attacks Drummond for having no opinion on it and for suing to block a religious charter school. It's a laundry list of grievances, all designed to paint Drummond as an enemy of the state's economic and spiritual interests. And then Florida, the endless stream of Florida. Senator Ashley Moody, Congressman Byron Donalds, Attorney General James Uthmere, Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson, and then the Congressman Jimmy Patronis, Kat Kamak, Aaron Bean, John Rutherford, Randy Fine, Mike Herodopoulos, Gus Bilirakis, Anna Paulina Luna, Laurel Lee, Sidney Gruters, Greg Stube, Scott Franklin, Brian Mast, Mario Diaz-Balart, Maria Elvira Salazar, Carlos Jimenez, John Maples. It is a litany. A roll call of the entire delegation, every single one endorsed with the same complete and total blessing. He mentions Wilton Simpson's 2024 vote count, 6.1 million votes. He attributes that specific number to his own success. He also cites Caroline Leavitt's departure, praising her as one of the best White House press secretaries in the history of the office. And then, abruptly, he shifts to geopolitics. The Strait of Hormuz. He claims total control. He calls the naval blockade a wall of steel. He says Iran has no navy, no air force, and is suffering 300% inflation. He mentions Trey Gowdy's new book, The Sound of Regret, telling us to get it now. It's a chaotic mix of domestic micropolitics, hyperbolic foreign policy claims, and book promotion. All of it thrown at you in one breath. Now, look at the tape. While he is screaming about aluminum plants and permanent daylight and Iranian collapse, what is actually happening? The market doesn't care about your political endorsements. The market doesn't care about your time zones. The tape is giving us a very different story. RUM dropped down 1.33%, the 73rd percentile, a significant move, not up, not steady, down. And look at the crypto assets. Ethereum fell down 0.35%, 57th percentile. Bitcoin fell down 0.31%, 59th percentile. Both are down. WBD fell down 0.34%, 52nd percentile. And VIXI, the volatility index, rose up 0.26%, 34th percentile. It's a subtle rise in fear, a dip in risk assets. This is not the tape of a man winning big in every category. This is the tape of skepticism. This is the tape of the market pricing in uncertainty, not certainty. The numbers don't care how loud you type them. They only care about what they see. He tells us Iran has no money and is shot. He tells us the aluminum plant is done and financed. He tells us the sunlight bill is passed. These are claims of absolute victory, absolute control. But the tape shows a different reality. RAM is dropping. Bitcoin is falling. Volatility is creeping up. There is a disconnect between the declarations of power and the market's reaction. Why? Is it because the market sees through the wall of steel? Is it because the millions of dollars saved on clock changes are outweighed by the cost of political chaos? Or is it simply that hype is a rendering error and the tape has no soaring, only prints? He posts images of prisons and freedom. He lists 25 names, all winners, all champions, all warriors. He says he won Florida BAG in 2016, 2020, and 2024. He says he won Oklahoma in 3 straight elections. He is building a monument to his own influence. But look at the timing of these posts against the tape. The more he shouts about control, the more the tape shows drift. Crypto down. WBD down. VIXI up. These are not the numbers of a dominant force. These are the numbers of a market waiting for something real to happen. Waiting to see if the wall of steel is just words. Waiting to see if the aluminum plant is just a headline. Waiting to see if the 6.1 million votes translate into policy. Just posts. You have to look at the silence between the exclamation points. You have to look at the gap between the claim of total control over the Strait of Hormuz and the fact that global markets are still pricing in risk. He says Iran has 300% inflation. He cites that figure as his own assessment. But does the market agree? Does RUM agree? No, it dropped down 1.33%, 73rd percentile. The tape is telling you that the narrative is not the reality. The narrative is loud. The narrative is colorful. The narrative has Democrats written in graffiti. But the tape is quiet, and the tape is falling. So when he asks you to GTO oot and vote, when he tells you that these candidates will never let you down, remember this: the market doesn't vote. The market trades. And right now it is trading down on risk. It is selling ROM. It is selling Bitcoin. It is buying volatility. It is reacting to the noise by stepping back. That is the truth, not the aluminum plant, not the sunlight, not the prison picture. The tape is the only thing that doesn't lie. And today, it is telling you to be suspicious of the silence. Be suspicious of the hype, because when the typing stops, the prints remain, and they are read. That's the show. We're on Spotify and YouTube. If this earned it, like, subscribe, tell a friend. And housekeeping. The machine that writes this gets tuned constantly for cleaner news. The numbers are real. The jokes are not.